Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. So today's storytime video, I thought we would take it all the way back to the beginning, back to the very first memory I have of stepping foot into the United States. Literally, this story happened right after I got off of the plane. All I know is I fell asleep in Mexico and woke up in America. I teleported. Buckle up, because this is not a pivotal story, but I mean, the saying goes, if you're gonna start anywhere, start from the beginning. So here we go. Backstory, I was born here. I was born here in the United States of the Americas. I was born January 11th, 1994. I was born in Yuba City, California. But at this time, my dad and my mom were here with just me and my older brother. We'll call him Leo because that's what his name is. It was just the two of us, but Leo and I are 2 of 6. So the other 4 were in Mexico, being that my family was super poor. So brothers and sister were in Mexico. My mom, dad, and my older brother Leo, and then me, having been born. And then my dad flew us back to Mexico for what was only supposed to be 3 months, but it turned into 3 years. So the first 3 years of my life I spent in Mexico. I grew up with a ton of brothers and sisters, my cousins, my family, and my grandparents. And that's what I knew. And one thing that I remember the most growing up is watching movies with my dad and watching movies with my family. But my dad is a movie connoisseur. My dad loves movies. My dad's favorite thing in the entire world is to just sit down with a good meal and watch television. Pay attention to this, put a pin in it, because it is going to come back to us. So we're going to move on to a subject called my grandma, and how my grandma loves horror movies, and how my dad loves movies, and my dad would always bring movies to our house back in Mexico. But every time he went out to get movies, my grandma was always like, hey, bring your girl back a horror movie, because if there's one thing my grandmother loves is horror movies and Law and Order SVU. Olivia. Again, I teleported. Not really. I was on a plane with all my brothers and sisters, because in this 3-year span, for one of those years, my dad left my entire family, all 6 of his kids and his wife. We lived with my grandparents, and my dad worked hard not only to support himself here and to send money back to us in Mexico, but he worked hard to establish a home here, because my mom obviously went through a very big depression, only having part of her family and having to leave 3 of her kids because she couldn't afford them. Like I said, we were only supposed to go there for 3 months. 3 months turned into 3 years. My dad eventually did come back sooner, but my mom was like, I'm not gonna go back with you. I'm not about to leave my kids again. I can't live without them. Last time I almost died, okay? By the way, when my mom almost died, I also almost died. My mom was so sick, so anemic, so sick, it landed her in the hospital, and because she wasn't around me and I wasn't around my mom, because I need my mom, I was very little at the time, I almost also died of dehydration and malnutrition, because I wouldn't eat and I needed my mom. So I also, it's not a funny story, but it's interesting. Like, while she was in the hospital in one area, I was in the hospital in another area. That's a whole moment. We will come back to that. Probably not though, because that's really not integral to the story. Anyways, so my dad worked his butt off here, raised enough money, got us a house, a beautiful 5-bedroom house. And this house came equipped with a fireplace. Now let's go back to the whole horror movie little pin that we dropped. One of the movies my dad brought back to my grandma was a movie, we'll just call it Chucky. My dad brought home this movie, and me being the little cinema lover that I was and always wanting to watch movies, I watched Chucky. And there's a scene in Chucky, pay attention to this, where he comes running out in flames as a huge little charcoal doll out of a goddamn mother effing fireplace. Guess what this house came equipped with that my dad had just gotten us here in the United States of A? A fireplace. Guess what was the first thing I saw when my dad, so happy, picked us up from the airport, drove us home to this beautiful house with the fireplace, opened the door, so excited to finally give us what he had been working so hard for these few years. What my mom was patiently waiting for, her home for all of her kids to have us all together. Stoked as nuts about it. Guess what my little spoiled ass did? I stayed back. I made eye contact with the only thing that was staring right back at me and right in the face, and I was like, no, I'm not gonna go in there, fam. That's a goddamn fireplace. You know who's gonna come out that fireplace? Chucky. And I remember after making eye contact with this fireplace being like, no, pineapples, not going in there. I'm sure I didn't say that though. I didn't say pineapples. Obviously, I probably said something like piña, you know, because Mexican. I've seen the movie, okay? Take me back to Mexico. There's no fireplaces there. I think our floor was made out of mud. Chucky might have ruined dolls for some kids, but it ruined fireplaces for me. But it is what it is. I would not go in there because I didn't want to get assassinated in the face with a knife and overalls. Ugh, Todd, don't want any part of that. Thank you. Next, I still had the audacity to tell my dad, is this the only house you got us? And my dad, being the man that he is, looked at his 3-year-old daughter and almost cried. I almost brought a Mexican man to tears, which is not easy to do unless you're Vicente Fernandez and unless you're a 40 ounce of beer. I feel so bad every time I think about this story and this story is told because everybody was excited. Everybody was just so thankful, so happy, thanking my dad. I still remember my mom trying to push me in and me going like this at the door, like no, 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 no. Eventually though, I did go into the house. It took a lot of convincing. It took all my brothers and sisters to kind of gather around me and be like, nothing's gonna come out of there, and if something does, we got you. Wasn't very excited about that second little comment that didn't have to be said. My dad gave us all blankets. Along with this house, we each got our own blanket, which was really cool. I remember mine being purple and having a unicorn on it, and then my sister got a really pretty one with flowers, and then my brother got a dope one with a panther, and then my other brother got one with a donkey. Even I thought that was kind of offensive, but it was just my dad's like, welcome me. This is your house. These are your blankets. Welcome to America. Be happy, but kind of lay low because we're still illegal, y'all. Spoiler alert, nobody's illegal anymore. We're all very much legal. We all got our licenses. We all kept our blankets, and Chucky never came out of the fireplace, although I was always weary. But that is the story of my very first memory here in the United States, not wanting to come into the home my dad worked so hard for, all because of a little ginger in overalls. Life is funny that way, isn't it? Could not make this up even if I wanted to. My mom loves to remind me of it even though I clearly remember this story, and my dad and I still never talk about it sometimes, so. But, like, on a very positive note, I'm so very grateful for my dad. He is a very hardworking man. I can't imagine having to pull that off, leaving your entire family. This wasn't just months, this wasn't just weeks, this was years. Wide enough to have a family here when his family's over here. Like, that was plane tickets, that was a house, that was a whole lot of things, but he did it. And now we're here. Also, I love fireplaces now. Every time I see a fireplace, now it comes with happy memories, not memories of murder.